I just wrote two for you. You said many good accommodations. It just sounded strange, maybe because you don't say accommodations as a plural. Many, even if you said many good accommodation, it still sounds a little bit strange. I mean, the accommodation is a word that we use sometimes. In this instance, you were talking about yang. There was just lots of good places to stay. Is the easiest, quickest way to say that. Usually when you say accommodation, you're talking about like my accommodation, or the accommodation was nice. The accommodation was nice. You're using it in a single. So when you're talking about a place and all the options, the accommodation options are nice, but the easiest would be that there's lots of good hotels, there's lots of good places to stay. And maybe when Sejin talked, you said it sounded like the first time to hear that. I think sound and hear, you're maybe trying to combine two phrases. That's the first time I've heard that. That's the first time I've heard that would be the easiest. I've never heard you say that before. Just throw the word sound out of there. Okay, so Young, you said during the weekend. It's a small one. Usually we say on the weekend, during the week. During is as a period of time, right? The weekend is 2 days, but we treat it as like a singular for some reason. There were a couple you said more safe than we think, safer than we think. So that's one. And then there were other two similar ones. You're answering her. I worked simpler company than her. And we talked a lot than Korea. I think when you're thinking the more than, instead of saying I worked simpler company than her, I worked at a or for a simpler company than her. And when you say we talked a lot than Korea, we talked a lot more than we do in Korea. So you're kind of mixing it up when you were talking about your, what are they called? Super. There's a word for it. More than, those things like that. I worked for a simpler company than her.
I worked for?
Or in a. And we talked a lot than Korea. We talked a lot more than we do in Korea. My mom was sick all of a sudden. Usually all of a sudden comes at the beginning of the sentence. All of a sudden, my mom got sick.
Okay.
I can claim about that. You were talking about your job and which department. Maybe instead of claim, say request. Like I can make a request. I can request to work in that department. Sometimes we say to make a claim, but that's a little bit different. To make a claim, in this instance, I would say I can request to switch, but they didn't grant my request. There's no Asians a lot. There's not a lot of Asians. You said there's no Asians a lot. There's not a lot of Asians. And at the end you said could meet the beach. Usually meet is only for people. See the beach or go to the beach. Find, you can say find. Suhyun, at the beginning you said I can feel a little bit about the woods. A little bit awkward sentence, just maybe I can enjoy the woods or I can feel like I am in the woods. Maybe choose enjoy or feel like. And then I'm not exactly sure about your job. You did a good job at explaining it, but you said to keep that law. To keep that law. Maybe you can use the word enforce. That sounds a little bit strict, but I think it's probably the right word. To enforce that law. To make sure they follow that law. It could be. You said it could be. When you're like answering, when you're replying, it just would be better to say, oh, it's possible, or that could happen. That could happen. Sometimes people say that might be. I think the easiest one, oh, it's, or that's possible. And maybe you said this before, I just looked up the internet. You're combining two. I just looked it up, or I looked on the internet. I just looked this up. I just looked it up, or I looked on the internet, one or the other. Not I looked up the internet. And you said, as you can see the clip, in this clip. Seijin, 2 years ago I went to Europe. I went to Europe. You forgot to. You said for my brothers because for my brother. I just had an S in there.
Okay,
For my brother. For my brother. If you would have said for my brother's wedding, it would apostrophe S if you're attaching an object to him. At first, when you said it, I thought you had two brothers.
No.
Yeah, so you just had an extra S in there. He was stolen all the things. All his things were stolen. Or everything was stolen from him. You could say that also. Everything that he has to need. Everything he needs. Everything he needed. To meet my missing friends in France. Old friends?
Yeah, I wanted to say old, but
Friends that you wanted to see. I think it's maybe something that's 보고 싶은.
yeah, right.
Maybe lost in translation.
Yeah.
Maybe. To meet my old friends. To meet my friends I hadn't seen in a while. I think it's easy to say in Korean, and if you really want to express that, it would be longer. To meet my friends I hadn't seen in a while and I really wanted to see. Like that. You would just need to elaborate. I think I picked that Europe travel for my most delightful travel. I think I picked that Europe trip, maybe trip. When that Europe trip. We usually say, especially when we're saying Africa trip, Jeju trip, or vacation. And last one, I have no idea. Maybe you want to say, I can't think of anything. When you say I have no idea, it almost sounded like you don't understand. I have no idea. I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea. It's okay. But in that instance, maybe just, I can't think of anything. It's a useful phrase that definitely signifies you understand, but just nothing is coming to my mind. I can't think of anything. Any questions? Finished.